Welcome everyone to today's open Q&A with student graduates of the Career Level Up program. Hello, hello. For those of you who don't know, my name is Meggie Palmer and I'm the founder of PepTalkHer. And I'm so excited to introduce to you today some of our students who've been through the Career Level Up program. So the fabulous Lucy joining us from the other side of the country to me, and also Megan joining us from Canada. So I'm going to let y'all introduce yourselves and then feel free to send through in the chat any questions that you have about the program, about, how it's going to help support your career, promotions and raises that you're looking for. And Lucy and Megan are just really here to sort of answer your questions. Honestly, I haven't prepared them with anything. I didn't tell them to say anything in particular. I want them to be really honest and transparent with you as to how they think the program can help transform you and where you're at in your career. So Lucy, do you want to give us the Cliff Notes intro to you and a little bit about your career to date?
Sure. Thanks, Maggie. So hi, everyone. I'm Lucy Chen. I am a marketing director in the industrial hydraulic space, which is very heavily male dominated. And one of my struggles of why I started following PepTalkHer and really looking for a lot of different types of career coaching is because whatever I needed as a woman just did not exist in my industry. Having to talk to a lot of different colleagues in my industry, even though they relate to my problems, they didn't relate in the same way or had the same feelings. So I think the moment I was starting to follow PepTalkHer and I started seeing the things that Meggie posts, and then I started the 5-day challenge. Whenever I started that, I can't remember, but I just remember how great it was just to start feeling seen. So in terms of my career, I think I started looking into DEI advocacy programs for my own company and industry. So that's where I'm at now. That's the Cliff Notes of my journey with PepTalkHer and Meggie.
Very cool. I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us, Lucy. Megan, you joined the program from Canada, which was very exciting for us to have you join. Do you want to give us the Cliff Notes of you and your career background?
Yeah, for sure. So I was pretty lucky. I got a job in my field right out of university. It's the same job I've been in. It's been 6.5 years. And my big issue was really kind of twofold, actually. There was one, I work in forestry. I have no forestry background. I'm GIS, which is tech and data, not forestry. So when I'd see, there was no path for me there. It's like, well, I don't know where I'm happy, but I have nowhere to go. And then at the same time, we live in a small town and my boyfriend's not happy with his job. So if he decides to change, we'll be moving. And am I actually prepared to get a different job? So PepTalkHer came up on a podcast, and then I'm like, oh, this sounds really cool. And then same as Lucy, I did the 5-day challenge. I think that was only last summer I did it. And it was like awesome. And I'm like, oh my God, if I'm getting like feeling inspired after 5 days, what's a full course going to do for me?
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, so there's a lot of people on the call today who've also been through the 5-day challenge. So welcome. So we've got a heap of former students on the line. So I'm going to pin everyone so y'all can get to meet them and hear a little bit more about their story. Matilda, you're joining us from Australia. So it is a very global cohort of women who go through the program. We've had people from Poland, Paris, Hong Kong, South Africa, Australia, Canada, the United States, Mexico, all over. Matilda, when you joined the course, I think for you, I'll let you put it in your words. What was the biggest reason why you decided to join the Career Level Up?
Yeah, hi everyone. Basically, I did the 5-day challenge, and then I was like, oh, I need more of that. Those sort of triggers to be thinking about my career, because I was looking for jobs at the time. And then in the course of actually joining the Career Level Up, I changed jobs and changed industries and sort of took a bit of a pay cut in terms of just taking a bit of a sideways step. And I just was feeling a bit low in confidence. And I was like, oh gosh, have I made the wrong decision? And I knew it was a good thing to move on from the company I'd been with, because it was a bank and I'd been there for 6 years and I'd sort of grown up there. So it was good to make a move. But yeah, I sort of joined the course hoping to help me move industries and come into the business at a stronger level, I guess, than just the can-do girl.
And that's so interesting that you say that, because sometimes, one of the things we talk about pretty openly in the Career Level Up is that sometimes we have to make decisions. Obviously, there's things you can do within a company, especially if you've been there for a long time, to position for more money or a more senior role. Sometimes it gets to the point where you've tried everything and you have to leave to be able to get that jump that you're looking for. Not always, but it does happen in some instances. And I feel like, Matilda, that's where you were at the end, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the course really helped in terms of just making that move and feeling more confident with it.
Awesome. Cool. Well, listen, Catherine is joining us too. Nice to see you, Catherine. Are you in downtown Bermuda right now?
Yeah, I am. I'm just at my pictures say I'm in New York, but yeah, I'm just in one of our meeting rooms at the office.
Awesome. Well, listen, welcome to you. It's so great to have you. You were in one of our most recent cohorts for the Career Level Up program. What would you say was the biggest shift for you that happened during the 8 weeks?
Yeah, so I definitely think the biggest shift for me was not being afraid to ask. So I honestly have never asked for a raise in my life, never asked for anything, just kind of stayed status quo, performed really well, but never really felt like I had the confidence to ask for more. It just kind of took and was very grateful for what I was given. So I think the course, one of my biggest takeaways was like, it's okay to ask for more. You honestly should be actually asking every year if you're doing really well. And so that definitely was like my biggest takeaway. And I was actually successful in asking for a raise. So that was great.
Love it. We always love to hear that. That's really cool news. I remember getting a Slack message. I was like, yay, so exciting. Lots of GIFs to celebrate on the private Slack channel that we have for students in the cohort. That's awesome. Boomy, you're in New York, same as me. So nice to have you here as well. I observed a huge transformation in you during the program, but I'd love to hear in your words, like, what was the most significant shift that you went through in the Career Level Up?
Yeah, so hi everyone. I am so happy to be here with you guys today. I guess through the whole course, I started off feeling very uninspired, which is why I wanted to take the program. And then through it, I gained so much confidence. Meggie and her team gave me so many tangible steps I could actually take in my day-to-day to get out of my comfort zone and stop being so fearful of what might happen. And because of that, as a result of that, I was able to get a raise this year and also start reaching out to people on LinkedIn and learning how to network better. So I guess those are my biggest takeaways from it, but I can't recommend it enough.
Well, and I should just say, I'm so excited for you, Bimi. I was so excited to hear the news that you got a raise too. And also, just so everyone knows, I asked some of our students if they wanted to join today, but I didn't tell them what to say. So this is all their honest opinions. You can ask any questions that you have. If you want to pop them in the chat, feel free to go ahead. One thing I do want to talk about, and this comes up a lot, like when you mentioned fear, and I think you did as well, Catherine, like that kind of anxiety about asking, or like what will happen if you do, or like, how successful will I be if I do ask? I want to talk about fear, and let me know in the chat if for anyone who's considering the program this year, if this is something that comes up for you. But I also want to talk about the fear of investing in something like this, because it does cost money. Because we do have a team that puts it together, and we keep it as affordable as we can, and we have a payment plan so that you can get started for $297 and all that kind of stuff. But I do want to talk about the money side of things, because there is an investment, and for people who are kind of like on the fence about it, like, oh, like, I don't know. And I think, I think all of you got raises to some extent. Like, what was it that eventually kind of pushed you over the edge to think I should spend the money and I should get involved in a course like this? Catherine, was there a moment for you that kind of made you think, oh, it will be worth it? Or did you have concerns about the cost?
Yeah, like I think initially I wasn't sure, like, oh, can I just find this stuff on my own? Like, can I just Google all these things? But I think what really pushed it for me is like, for me anyways, I definitely need something to like motivate me. And I think the community also was really enticing too. And just having more like interaction than you would if you were just to like Google something or find it on your own. So I really took a look at the cost benefit, and I was like, honestly, for me, these are skills I really do want to learn, like negotiation, confidence. And I thought this was probably like the best way to do it. And I think it was.
Interesting. And Boomy, for you, you mentioned that you got a raise. Do you think that, investing in the cost of the career level up is a big part of the reason why you got that raise, do you think?
For sure. I think when you guys went through the steps that we could take to talk to our bosses, the things we need to do to lead up to that conversation, I guess you can look it up online, but the course offered that you can't find online is the community, and being able to just practice and feel comfortable that regardless of what they're going to say to you, you would be prepared for a rebuttal or for whatever answer you wanted to give them. And I learned that from this course.
Oh, I love to hear that. I'm so excited. And typically, I think the smallest raise I've ever seen within the program was about $4,000 or $5,000. So again, if you're investing in the course, you would expect to see at least a 1.5 to 2 times return on investment. And then it goes up from there, right? Like some people get 5x, 15x. We had someone who got a 60x return on the cost of the program. But it is something to consider. Lucy, did you have hesitations about investing?
Yeah, so I think prior to, I think this is my first career coaching program that I ever invested in. Prior to, I always felt like, oh, I could just rely on mentors. I can rely on friends from other industries, we all have some type of community already. But I think the differentiating factor was I never really tried to, boost myself to the next level where it didn't feel casual anymore. And I just didn't want to, I spent so much time in my career. I wake up every day, I go to work, right? And I was like, if I'm being this serious about that, I really should be paying for what I deserve. I don't need to kind of MacGyver my way through a promotion or a raise for that matter. And I want to feel like whatever I say to my boss and how I say it is something that my community supports because they feel it too, but it's also something I feel strongly about because I spent the time on a regular basis, not because I just casually had a feeling during the day and I talked to my friend and then that's the way I impulsively did. I want to feel like there was some structure because if you think about the way I think about the way I work is the things I do consistently, the things I did thoughtfully, were the things I ended up paying for to kind of invest in myself. It wasn't things I was casually, oh my God, it's a great idea, let's just impulsively do it. So I just focused on the fact that I needed to treat my career seriously.
Well, I like what you said about you didn't want to kind of MacGyver it. That's probably a really good way of putting it, because all of us know how to negotiate to an extent, right? You've all had conversations with your boss before. It's not like you don't know how to speak to your boss. But to Lucy's point, it's not the sort of thing when you're going for a big jump or a new job or a big raise, it's not the sort of thing you kind of want to be winging it on. Having the structure and the preparation ahead of time, in my experience anyway, makes you feel more confident as well. Megan, were you surprised? Did you feel when you graduated, did you feel like it was worth it for you? What was your thoughts when you wrapped up?
Yeah, it's been crazy. So it's been a few months and I felt really good afterwards. I think I can, similar to the others, being intentional with it. And for me, because I'm not I'm still in tech, kind of more the earlier stages, the confidence was huge. But then more so now, even in the past couple of months, I'm doing things, I'm oh, this is where this is coming from. And it's just it's just growing on itself since then. It's not I come out of the course, I'm oh, woohoo, things are awesome, which I did feel. But it's that in the next however many months it's been, 6 months or something, I'm this is just growing exponentially.
The snowball effect of those skills. And that comes back to, I'm like a broken record with the muscle, right? But flexing the muscle, flexing the muscle, flexing the muscle gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's the same with these techniques in your career. Matilda, how about you? Like, because you've had a lot of changes in your career and your life the last couple of years. Since you've graduated though, only a few months ago, when you reflect on your decision to put in the time commitment, because it is an hour a week for the 8 weeks, at least if you can, you might want to put in a little bit more time if you want to do some extra work, but at least 1 hour will get you out of trouble. Did you feel like the investment of the money and then also your time was worth it for you?
Yeah, 100%, because I think I was similar to the others in terms of being like, oh, well, I've got like my networks and I've sort of done some stuff about my career before, but I think just having that set time in my diary every week to focus on it, and then you'd get off those calls and feel so motivated, you'd spend more time on it anyway, even though originally I was like, okay, I can only like 1 hour a week I can do. And then all of a sudden, I found more time because I felt more excited by it. And yeah, 100%. I think just initially I was like, oh gosh, I don't know, is it worth like me investing that in myself and whatever? But yeah, I think like 100% just to sort of, just have that set time in the diary and that headspace. And then I've continued on like doing the mastermind one because I didn't want to miss having that block in my diary to keep thinking about these things. And yeah, as Meggie said, I've got lots of changes, but I think had I not done the course, I wouldn't be trying to make the changes I'm now trying to make. So yeah, I think it was definitely worth it for me.
And it's interesting you say that, Matilda. Yeah, it's, like the course does push you out of your comfort zone, right? I think that's why you're all here. That's why you all went through the challenge. Like you could have been watching Netflix, checking out the Anna Delvey show, which I've just devoured and we can talk about another time. But there's other stuff you can do with your time, right? But the thing is that when you invest in your career and in your compensation, that has such a compounding interest effect, right? From a financial freedom perspective, from a confidence perspective, from a trajectory of your career and how quickly you can climb if aspirationally moving up is important to you. So yeah, having that accountability is really key. And it's one of the pieces of feedback we hear a lot is that regular accountability and that momentum to just focus on you and your career. Because like, how often do we do that? Not very often, right? Sometimes you just graduate from college or school and then you just kind of don't even think about your career critically again. If any of you have questions, let me know because I would love to hear from you. And we've got the fabulous Kyla joining us as well from Perth. Very early where you are, so thank you for dialing in. I know that we've got some entrepreneurs and people who do side hustles as well. Kyla, you've got a super successful company, so you are not necessarily an employee working for a boss. So I would love to know from your perspective whether you still found the career level up helpful for you and where you're at in your career.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'd say it's a super successful company. I kind of dip in and out of consulting, my consulting business. I run a training organization and my aspiration is to be like a high-paid speaker. So that's building. But I think what I have is a portfolio career. So in my consulting business, which is when I joined the program, it gave me the confidence doing the program to ask for a pay rise at a calendar year on a consulting gig that I had. And I never would have thought of that. I just kind of would have thought the services agreement was set and that's what you do. So your calculators and all of the tools were really helpful. And then the accountability was epic. So not long after I joined the program, I think I got my first paid board role, which was just, for me, running your own training organization and feeling like I'm 15 years into my career and miraculously at that point, apparently you kind of become, knowledgeable or an expert or whatever. And so I got my first paid board role, but I didn't feel like I had any women around me that were ahead of me, if you like. I had peers and then obviously there's women ahead of me, but I felt like that was another circle that I hadn't broken into. And I loved the network side of it. Like honestly, having women across the world and in Australia that I didn't know before the course, but through the course, and I have to confess I'm one of the naughty ones that didn't do all of the calls every week. But knowing that they were on did prompt me and give me the accountability to look through the content, think about what I was doing, And I think you take what you need out of these courses. So I apologize for my cohort that I might not have been active on the calls, but I definitely was active and still am in the Slack channels. And I feel that they're so valuable. And yeah, so I did a raise, and it was only a small raise, maybe 5%, or not even, I can't remember, whatever it was. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to justify going into the next tax bracket. But anyway, that was a good little process of doing it.
Yeah.
But I did make a $20,000 pay increase on a board role, simply by having some tough conversations. And I think that Meggie's point about it's not a one-off negotiation, and building to that is really important.
I love that. And it's a good point because, there are people in the program that are wanting to get these skills for their existing job, a new job, or for things like paid board roles, for speaking opportunities. There's some people that I know some of the people on this call today also are sort of positioning for not-for-profit board roles as well. So there's lots of different ways that you can transfer the skills that you learn in the program. If you've got questions, pop them in the chat or even just jump off mute. Super easy. The panel of excellent humans are happy to take your questions. Lucy made a valid point in the chat that she actually had her company reimburse her for the cost of the program. So I've also popped a link to a letter that you can use that's a template, so you can just kind of like copy and paste it in case that's handy for you too, for asking your boss to invest in the program. Because most clients that I work with typically have $500 to $5,000 per person for professional development. So often people will join the program and then, I'll send you an invoice and then they will reimburse you, right? So that you can actually get them to cover the cost of the course. I would say about 20% of people who come through the program have their bosses pay for the course. A lot of people invest themselves, but some companies will reimburse you. So it's worth keeping that in mind. And of course, it's typically a tax deduction if you are paying for yourself as well. What's one thing that you think people need to know? Like, Catherine, what do you want people to know who are kind of on the fence and thinking about it?
I think what I want people to know is, honestly, I think it's something that once you sign up, you won't regret it from the very first meeting that you have. It's such a great community. You feel so welcome. The first one is chatting and introduction, and you immediately I want to know all these people. So I think as soon as you accept, you instantly do not regret it from your first meeting of the cohort and the community. And then really just the skills, honestly, just taking those skills and having the content in your back pocket that you can always look at it. And yeah, just getting into those really good habits that I think is something that I wouldn't have done on my own.
Yeah, the momentum of putting those habits in place and the accountability to, as Kyla mentioned as well, and Catherine as well, we catch up every single week. So there's that momentum that happens. There's the videos that you will have caught up on, and then the curriculum that we cover every week. So you'll be making that forward motion, which is great. But listen, Erin, Cynthia, Cisco, anyone who's got questions, Rachel, hello. Catherine, feel free, Asha, pop them in the chat and we will put those to the panel for you. Boomy, anything that you would say to people who are like, I don't know if I've got the time, or I don't know if it's too expensive. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I would just say that, to echo Catherine's sentiment, once you get started, you will find that you want to make the time. You look forward to it because it's such a great community, great group of people. I also found that while we were in these conversations during the cohort, I learned so much from the group. So from the one-on-one conversations, as well as the bigger group sessions, that I was able to take away, but then I still utilize to this day. So there's many elements that you'll learn from, and whatever you're seeking for, in your career or just in your confidence levels, you'll find what you're looking for in this program.
Yeah, that's the sort of cross mentoring that happens between the cohort, Boomy, is so valuable. And I didn't realize, I knew that the content made results. I knew that people would get raises. I knew that it worked, but I didn't actually factor in how valuable the community side of things would truly be. Cisco, did you have a question? Did you want to jump in? Go ahead if you did.
I do. Morning or night all. I think I mentioned on Facebook that I'm on a crossroad at the moment, so that's why I haven't jumped in. So I just want to ask that question: is is it a good time for me to start, or should I wait for until I know what I want, basically?
Yeah, it's a good question. Matilda, I might throw this to you to start with, because I know that you were at a crossroads a couple of times throughout the process. What would you say to people who are like, like Cisco, who's thinking about doing a business or thinking about taking another role, or like they have a few different options? Do you think that that is a good time to do the course?
Yeah, I think 100%, because the first couple of weeks are very like self-reflective. You sort of start thinking about like what your like main skills are, your values, and where you want to sort of take your career. And I joined having just changed jobs, and I wished I'd actually joined in the process of looking for jobs, because I thought it would have, like, that sort of going back to the basics a bit about like, your natural skills and the skills that you really want to sort of build and excel at, I think would have been really valuable. So yeah, I think that would be, well, personally, I think it would be a great time to do it. I mean, I don't know the context of your business and stuff, but yeah, I would really recommend it, especially when you're a bit confused. I think it really helps.
That's so helpful, Matilda. And just Kyla, quickly, just to go to you as well, because I know you're often getting, offers from corporate. You weren't, I don't know if you were at an exact crossroads, but I feel like you always have a lot of different options being thrown at you. What would your advice be for Cisco, Kyla, given your
Yes,
experience?
yeah. That's so funny. I literally, like, last month have probably had overwhelm from too many different opportunities come in, and I get a bit of grass is greener, and it's like, no, just consolidate. I'm only 8 months into my new salary role. But what I put in the chat was like, whatever you learn in this program, it's honestly, I've done a few online courses and stuff. It's the first I've seen that's like super practical, super related to income earning, whether it's career or business. And are the tools that I've never come across sort of in vain before. So I pick them up, I'm a bit lazy, like I said, so every now and then I'll go back into the course materials, but the things that I even remember from the program, like I go back to them all the time. And so I put in the chat, it's those tools that I think you'll use for years, but it's also the network. A few women in our group were at a crossroads or taking on new roles, and them bouncing their ideas in the group, like it just felt so supportive. I was like, oh man, that's very cool.
Yeah, and it can be lonely sometimes, right? When you're in your career and, you don't have people that are ahead of you or even alongside you, or maybe you feel like you've kind of outgrown some of those friendship networks, or you're about to with some of the leaps that you're going to make ahead. Megan, I know that one of the reasons you joined was really to future-proof your career, so that if geographically you moved with your partner and you had to change jobs, that you felt ready to do that. What would you say was the most important thing that you took away from it that you wish other people would know on the call who are kind of thinking about joining?
Oh my gosh. Oh, so much. There's lots of really specific, actionable things, I think, is number one. Like, it's full of good information, it's full of good networking, and like all the people are in, somewhat of the same mindset. But yeah, it's the actionable things I found, like, do this, take this, here's this tool, practice this, talk about this. And then for me, coming out of it now, I'm just like very intentional. Like starting this new year in January, when making my goals and stuff, I'm like, hey, we're going to be intentional about this.
Yeah, interesting.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to these 4 people from the company this year, and just, it was a very big mindset changing for me.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's what we try and put in place, right? Is habits that become second nature for you that you can take with you to any future jobs, right? Regardless. I want to be respectful. No worries, Carla. Thank you so much for joining. We so appreciate you. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and try and wrap things up. So if you have any final questions or things that are coming up for you, feel free to let me know in the chat so that we can get to those before we let everyone go. But I will put the link to join into the chat for you. It's just peptalkher.com/level up. The program starts next week. So we literally start in 7 days. But the early bird pricing expires tonight. So if you are on the fence, I would recommend may as well take advantage of the lower price. And then also there's like the 7-day money back guarantee. So if you just want to try it out, you can come for a week, check out a live session, and if you hate it, you can leave. No hard feelings. I'm confident that you'll love it. But yeah, no worries at all, June. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, listen, let's just do one quick whip around before we wrap things up. Lucy, any final tweet-sized thoughts from you before we wrap up the session?
Yeah, so I would say like in decision making, because I was just very lost, a new mindset I adopted is that if I feel like I'm confident about moving forward about something, I can also feel confident about not moving forward with something. So a mindset that I have is if I don't think I want to do something, let it be an empowered no. So that really helped me really think about what does it mean when I feel like I really just don't want to do this right now. But then you start thinking about, that's why I actually maybe should or shouldn't, but just the decisions are intentful. And I think anyone that has like doubts, just challenge yourself to put yourself in the positions like, do I actually feel very empowered about my no, or am I just hesitant and I'm sitting in there because I'm scared to say yes?
Yeah, and the fear, that's the fear that comes back, and for a lot of us, we're scared of the concept of making more money, right? Or knowing that there's possibilities out there when that is possible. I agree. Thanks so much for sharing that, Lucy. Matilda, any final tweet-sized thoughts from you before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I was just going to write it in the thing and just, I was just saying Meggie is great for morale, and the balance of the sort of practical challenges and strategic advice that Meggie gives and the speakers and also from the network itself. Yeah, it's just a great course. So.
Yeah, well, I love cheering everyone on and seeing all these wins and hearing about all these fat paychecks. Very exciting for me. Boomy, final thoughts, your side.
Yeah, I would just say, like, there's no time like the present. And I know, because I was like on the verge of, should I do it or should I not? And if I could do it all over again, I would. It was worth the time investment as well as financially.
Yay, I'm so happy to hear about your raise. Such good news. Awesome. Catherine from lovely Bermuda. I'm a bit jealous.
It's a little bit rainy today, actually, but yeah, I think just like my last thought was honestly doing the course really helped me realize like my value and know that I'm valuable and I'm worth it for a raise and not kind of take what I do for granted. And I definitely think that's like an invaluable skill that I'll take with me moving forward.
Yeah, that's never going to go away, is it? Well, remember us when all of you are in high-flying executive roles. Megan, any final thoughts from you before we wrap up today?
Oh, this was probably the best investment I made in myself.
I didn't even pay you to say that. I didn't even tell you to say that, but I'm glad to hear it. I am glad I didn't know that. That's awesome. I'm stoked to hear that, Megan. I'm stoked to hear that. Well, listen, thank you so much, Lucy. Kyla had to jump off. Megan, Catherine, Boo, Matilda, thank you so much for giving your time. I know it's really precious. I want to let you all go, but also thanks to all of you who've taken time out of your day to join the AMA Q&A today with our students. If you've got any other questions, just shoot me an email. It's just hello@peptalkher.com. And then if you're keen to join and take advantage of the early bird pricing, I'll just put the link in the chat, just peptalkher.com/level up. We would love to see you there. We start on International Women's Day, so 1 week from now, which is quite fortuitous. But thanks so much, everyone. I really appreciate you. Keep the questions coming, and we'll see you in the course next week. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye.